So what did you say?
Ultimately, why do you think you guys lost in the 16?
Well, everybody, each game, every team is protecting their own court except for today. I think we went out there and we competed, we gave everything we got. I think the first two games, they kind of handled us pretty easily. Other than that, I think every game was compete battle. We went down to the wire. We had a 5-point lead going to the fourth quarter. And so back to the fourth quarter, they just outplayed us, made shots. We turned the ball over. It was a more aggressive team.
This one's for Brad. What was the second half like for you guys? The two of you ended up scoring the vast majority of the points.
First praise my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We just want to win the game. The ball's going to go through our hands at the end of the day. Win and lose. It's going to be, on us. So, we were just being aggressive and, wanted to give ourselves the best opportunity. Put ourselves in a position to be able to win. And, we made some shots, made some plays. But still wasn't enough.
John, in the fourth quarter, they held you guys to 4 of 15 from the field. The difference defensively, what did the Raptors do to keep you guys, to have you guys off balance there?
I think we got some looks, we just missed them. A little bit, they trapped me and Brad a little bit at times. Tried to force us to pass it and let somebody else make a play. But a lot of times we got down to like 5 seconds in the shot clock and we never had to take a bad shot.
Despite the outcome, you all did take the #1 seed to 6 games. So with everything that you all learned during the season and the series, how can you all improve on that to make a run next season? John or Brad, whoever has a burning desire.
We use it as motivation to continue to get better. I'm not going to sit and act like I'm happy. The loss wasn't happy. That we get to get better in the offseason. We want to continue to still be playing right now, but somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. All we can do is tip our hat off to them. They're a great team. I said it earlier. In the press conference, it doesn't matter what seed you are. You got to go out and compete, regardless of who you're playing and who's on the floor. So, just like this series, the next series is going to be, just the same for them. So, whoever you match up against, regardless of the number, you got to go out and compete. But we did a good job for 6 games, but there's still some games we could have won early on in the series, and we could have won late in the series.
John, I don't know if you had your brothers be out there for all 40 minutes every game, but obviously over the course of the game, over the course of the series, that can get draining. DeRozan and Lowry were able to see their minutes shaved off at times, and today they really didn't play a ton relative to their norm. How much do you think minutes played a factor that you guys had to play as much, do as much as you're doing today and then throughout the series?
It is what it is. At the end of the day, I'm a competitor. I don't like to come out the game. I want to play every minute, but at times you need breaks. We kind of know the situation we're going to be in. Going against this team, they have one of the best benches in the league. Coach makes the calls, make decisions. You go out there and try to play and compete. Kind of going today, me and Brad knew we was going to play 40+ minutes. It just didn't work in our favor at the end.
John, you only got to play 10 games after coming back from surgery. Physically, now that you look back on that series, where were you at? How close were you to being your own self? And also, how far do you feel you guys are from being where you want to be as far as this team and where you want to get to?
I feel great. I think my play and just being there to help my teammates and these guys making the job easy for me. I think I felt fine. Went out there and competed, gave everything I had. I think we have an opportunity this summer to try to make our team better. We've been in a situation before where we fall short for certain situations. So I think most importantly, just start with me and Brad. We both can keep getting better, improving our game, improving our condition, all those type of things that we can prepare ourselves for a long season. And then in the days up to our front offices, to add the pieces they think we need to make our team better, more complete.
Fellas, this is the first time you guys are going out in the first round. How did you look back on this season, and how upsetting is it that you weren't able to go as far as you may have wanted?
For me, it's upsetting because I missed 40-some games. So for these guys to even compete the way they did, and Brad to have an MVP type season for our team, and they keep more strides, was big time for us. And he held it down. All the other guys competed and made it even a fun season for us to even have the opportunity to be in the playoffs. So other than that point, it was disappointing to me that I had to miss so many games. But as these other 14 guys and my brother, they held it down and gave ourselves the opportunity to be in the playoffs and compete, and that's what we did.
Brad, and during the summer, when you do an autopsy of this series, is there one thing that may drive you crazy? Whether it was early in the series, having bad starts, late in the series, those fourth quarters?
A loss is a loss regardless of how you lose. That'll be the biggest thing. We lost games in a variety of ways: turnovers, rebounds, 50-50 balls, defensive stops, scoring late in games. So I mean, it's a lot. You can't just pinpoint on one thing because it was more than one thing. So at the end of the day, you lose. And you evaluate, you look at it, and see where you get better. And next year, like you said, we haven't been knocked out the first round, so I'm a little bothered by that. We're a better team than that. We have high expectations for ourselves coming into the year, and we fell short of them.
Brad, the way you guys are constructed, you two and Otto, so much relied upon you. Otto obviously wasn't playing tonight, limited seemingly throughout the series with whatever ailments he was having, not shots, whatever, that he wasn't able to play tonight, and it wasn't as much of a factor in the series. How much of that key to what happened?
It is what it is, man. It's always next man up. It's the same thing when John went down, same thing when anybody gets injured or hurt. You can sit there and talk about it and say, oh man, we don't have Otto. All right, man, it's the next man up. It's not. It's the playoffs. Nobody's going to feel sorry for us. Nobody's going to say, okay, let's reschedule it for next week and wait till Otto gets back. They're not doing that. So it's always next man up. We've got to be confident with who we have, what we have. And, we got to be better. We got to continue to do everything, do more, on both ends of the floor. That's what's asked of us. We got to do it. Nothing more, nothing less.
What's going on, everybody? It's another wonderful week. We are here. This is the Focus TV. Miss Octavia Wyatt. We got Cardell Dudley. See, I said your name right this week.
Man, appreciate it.
I try, man. I'm Wilson Turbe Jr. We got a lot planned for you guys tonight. So as you guys just saw from how we opened the show, as you might surmise, the 2017-2018 campaign of the Washington Wizards has come to a close. Feel free to get over to finestmag.com and mymodelsports.com to check out what we had to say at length. We took some time, Cardell and I did a nice little stand-up sharing our thoughts on the season in review. Since then, we had some non-controversial comments by John Wall that were made controversial by national writers because why not? And clickbait exists. He was simply asked a question in the exit interview, and John is a really good interview. You ask John a question, John's gonna give you the answer. Up, there's not gonna be any in between. You ask him an honest question, he's gonna let you know exactly what it is that you asked and answer it appropriately. So they asked him, what he pretty much the constructs of the roster, asked him what they felt they needed. He let them know. I see no issue with it. And, some folks tried to make this big thing into it because that's what people do. What did you think about it, Cardell? Because I feel like it was kind of along the lines of what we've been thinking, I don't know, the last year or so.
As far as what I thought about what he said?
Yeah.
I loved it. That's what I love about him. He's honest, but he also honest with himself. He's not the type to just point the finger. Like he said, I got to find a way to stay healthy. You know what I mean? He continues to prove individually as well. But what he said wasn't wrong. I love the part when he said guys complaining about Brooks not expanding that role, and he said, why are you complaining about it when you're not built for it? And then when you get the opportunity, you mess up, you don't fulfill what's needed, and then everything's messed up on the court. Now we got to scramble and try to make up for it. And a lot of players need to hear that because a lot of players, especially in the NBA, unless you really strong-minded and humble, you can get caught up in your circle and they telling you better than what you are and this and that. And, we saw a key example from a player I'm not even going to say where, he literally ignored Wall and went down the court 1-on-3. Of course, he didn't get close to making the shot. and missed the shot terribly. Raptors went back the other way. He tried to hustle back and got a bad foul, and Wall went off on him. And I'm like, those are the type of plays that cost you games, and it was fitting. That's what started the Raptors' run to put them away. And it's just selfish things like that, man. You can just see all season it was a little inner turmoil, and a little slick stuff when Wall was out and everything. Then by the time he got back, man, we need him back, man. Like, yeah, y'all not, like he said, y'all not built for it. It's a lot of responsibility. So. We basically said, man, a lot of that front court need to go. That's where their weakness was, the lack of athleticism, size, the ability to finish, man. It just put so much pressure on the guards. And against Toronto, where they literally go 10, 11 deep, literally, that won't work. The end of the game, they basically put Shockham on him, 6'9", who's long, athletic. They put him on Wall and put Van Vliet on Bill. And if basically just like strap them up, and if they got loose, they double them. They basically say, y'all not gonna beat it. Somebody else gonna have to step up, and nobody else was. And they missed Otto Porter, and no one's talking about they missed the shooting threat of Jody Meeks.
Yeah.
Because that spreads the floor where Wall and Bill could do their thing. That when both of them was out, you could just see how much it shrunk. So, I like what Ty brought in the limited amount of time he was there. That might be ideal if you want. I don't know particulars in the contract talk. Hopefully they keep him. And, like I said, they need to keep Mike Scott too, man. He was a big presence off that bench, man. He revitalized his career, respecting him. He looked just like the player we saw give the Wizards work in Atlanta a few years ago. So hopefully they keep those guys. But, yeah, that whole front court, man, got to be, some changes if they really serious about trying to, contend.
Yeah, and if you guys been following the last couple of weeks, we started our draft series. You said there's a reason why Cardell and I both kind of went big heavy with the first couple of picks. There's a very good reason for it, and that's why it wasn't a surprise to either one of us. We heard John mention that. Another area I thought was interesting that he brought up was having a wing off the bench that can create for others. Like, one of the themes on this roster is, while it's great to have like 3-and-D wings, and there's nothing wrong with that, sometimes you have to have a guy that can create for himself as well. Right. And when you got it, like, because at times with the limited depth at wing, because Sato's 6'7", they put him at the 3 at times, and he's literally just a bigger playmaker, right? So he's not at that space yet where he can go get his. And it hurts because all other teams know you're a facilitator. When you catch the ball, you're thinking to make a play for somebody else. So we were talking about that limited space, and he's in at the 3. I'm not going to guard you behind that line. I might not come above the elbow, honestly, because what you really want to do is come here and drive and kick. So now I can load up, as you said, on John and Brad. So they got to get as John mentioned, they got to get another wing off the bench, whether it be at the 2 or the 3, that can create for themselves and for others. Somebody has to be able to eat for themselves, and that's why I agree with you. I thought Ty was a great pickup, where the pace doesn't change too much. He can create for himself. He can play off ball as well, but you need some similar traits in a bigger player on the wing, just because, they're literally too deep on the wing in Otto and Kelly, right? In terms of, good size. So I guess we could transition to our draft series. Okay. Since we already brought up the stuff, you went first last week, so I'll go ahead and go first this week. So as I said, the last couple of weeks we went with bigs. This week we're gonna go a little bit different. Let's say some of the bigs, ideal bigs that we mentioned, are off the board in this scenario. The player I'm going with, again, going off of what we were just talking about, wings that could create for themselves. I'm going to go with a youngster out of Oregon, Troy Brown. He's a guard. I'm just labeling him as a wing. A lot of people have him as, I know he played some point guard formerly in his life, but he's a 2 or a 3. 6'7", 6'11" wingspan, 210 pounds. He needs to get a little bit stronger, obviously, because he's a one and done, one of Oregon's first one and dones quite a while. He averaged 11.6 points a game, 6.2 rebounds, 3.2 assists, and 1.6 steals per game. The pros with Troy Brown. He's a versatile wing. As I mentioned, he's a former PG. He has enough handle to create for himself and others. Which,
as you said it showed.
Hey, look, just know. Hey, I try to do my best. We try to prep here. We take pride in preparation, all right? So he has enough handle to create for himself and others, which would be big. You have something like that coming off the bench. Now that much pressure isn't put on Sato as before. Another thing, it's not shown in this video as much. He was kind of like a secondary ball handler at Oregon. He's able to operate out the pick and roll, which is kind of a blessing for a wing if you add to the Wizards roster. Again, at Oregon, as I said, he has an array of floaters. He's comfortable in the lane. He doesn't necessarily finish strong at the rim in terms of he's not going to catch a body or anything like that. But he knows his game. A bunch of floaters, uses length well. Just savvy, crafty moves. I'm sure you guys seen some of the spins going left and right. His right hand's a lot stronger than the left as far as his handle goes, but he can straight line drives to the rim. His left is strong enough for that. And his jump shot, it's a fluid looking jump shot, but he just has to improve it. I'm sure the video showing some catch and shoot situations. He's not scared of shooting the jumper. But just has to clean it up just a little bit. Some of the cons, he's an inconsistent defender. We talk about Syracuse players all the time because you play in the zone. We don't know how you can defend man-to-man. They played a lot of zone at Oregon this past year, played a lot of 2-3. So you got to see how that goes. As I just mentioned, he's improved his left hand a little bit. As he improves his left hand, it should help him become a better playmaker. Also, he needs to get a lot stronger. I know I said 210, but he still has a kid's frame. The man weight isn't quite there yet. That's pretty much it. And the jumper isn't broken like you guys have seen him hitting a couple of jumpers. It's a fluid looking jumper. Just has to clean it up as far as selection. And then the last thing, he just needs to be more assertive. He's one of those guys that looks to make plays for others, but the caveat is he can create for himself. Just kind of like if you can get him in that role, I think he'll be fine. Obviously he needs to develop. So like my bottom line on this, he's literally the type of wing Wall was mentioning. That we're talking about, the guy that can create for himself, create for others, the guy where it's another 6'7" guy. So if they were to draft him, that's possibly you can have him off the bench with Sato, Kelly, and this youngster. That's 3 kids, 6'7", on a perimeter. It's fun things, versatile pieces. And then the other thing is the things that he needs to work on. We talk about Scott Brooks' staff quite often. It's the type of kid that can definitely get the most out of him early in a limited role, and then later he can blossom and live up to the rest of his potential. So I love it with the high upside, but I also think he could slide in as a rookie, even with some of the negatives, and play, and fit that role.
Right.
So, Cardell, the floor is yours.
All right, for me, I stuck with the big man. And,
Okay.
this is probably the best prospect, my favorite prospect so far. Villanova's Amari Spellman.
Okay.
That freshman center, 6'9", 260, has a 7'1" wingspan.
Okay.
Averaged 10.9 points on 47% shooting, 43% from 3, 70% from the free throw line, and 8 rebounds with 1.5 blocks, per game in 28 minutes. So he's probably one of the most skilled bigs in the draft. He just ain't having enough body work. Obviously, he redshirted his first year because he was ineligible, academically, whatever. So he got eligible last year, and he was definitely a force, man. He could shoot, pick and pop, pick and roll. He's athletic enough to finish in the paint. He can, when he's guarded by bigger guys and like bigger, big 7-footers, whatever, he's quick enough to get past them and make a play. When he got smaller bigs, his size is smaller, he pound them in the post. He can pass out the double team, which is great. That means he has a high IQ. Obviously, playing in the Villanova system, you got to be able to read where the guard's going to move. His rebounding, he's one of the best rebounders in the Big East, averaging 8. Plus, he's a rim protector, which the Wizards need in the worst way. And, he kind of remind me more of people might have forgotten when Trevor Booker was here, but he's bigger and more skilled. And, I think he has all the skills and the tools to come right in and go to work for the Wizards immediately if they were to select him. The only thing with him is he just got to increase his feel for the game, and that just comes with experience. Obviously, he only played 1 year, so he might have looked out of sync with all the daily guards and the 4 bridges that Villanova had. But I mean, he's some guys are kind of questioning maybe he looked that good because of the firepower around him. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, nah, there's a lot of bigs that have firepowers around them and they still look like trash, you know what I mean? Yeah. And one thing I love about him, he played in the winter since he played winter basketball because they won a championship, so he already got good habits. Because for one, and he has a work ethic. I can tell when he came to campus, he was weighing 300 pounds when he first got there out of high school. And he dropped to 245 his freshman year and built that back up in the muscle for 260. So, a lot of players want to do that, especially in redshirting. He could have easily been, sneaking pieces and stuff in the dorm doing what he do. But, I love what he brings to the table overall. And that's exactly the type of, draft picks the Wizards need. They don't have time for projects, unless it's like a can't miss type project where down the line they could be a franchise type player. they need guys, because Wall's 27, Bill and them entering that prime. They need guys to come in and be ready to go right now.
Yep.
So they can kind of like what they did with so the Raptors with DeRozan and Lowry, where they could come in and contribute immediately. You know, the rookie OG Anunoby, Shotgun got better. You know, Van Vliet, he did his thing. You know, CJ Miles, I know he's been in the league for a while, but he came a veteran. They need guys to be able to deal with that because it's not going to get easy. You know, people looking at the Raptors, you still want the Celtics going to be even stronger next year when Kyrie and them boys get better. Yeah, and the Sixers going to have another year of experience, so they're going to be ready to go. You're going to need bigs down there that can play on both ends, and he does that. Like I said, I think he's more ready out of the three guys, with Mitchell Robinson
Right.
and last year with McCoy. I think he's the more ready to come in right now and contribute immediately.
I mean, I would agree. And the biggest thing when I heard you say, coming from a winning program,
That matters.
and
man.
we just, John's talking about people knowing their role. It's going to be a kid who has no issue. Whatever the role that's defined and assigned to him, he's going to,
And playing with a guard like Wall, the way he can pop and shoot, and he's big, so he can set good screens like how Gotet. And that's one of the best things Gotet did do.
Right.
He's a great screener. So he do that. He could pick and step out and pop, 3-point range. You have to deal with him. You have to guard him. And then on top of that, he can go back door for lobs. He can roll with Wall. Like, he will eat off a Wall. Like, seriously. If he get enough minutes, man, I'm 10 to 15 points easy.
And you said 7'1" wingspan, right?
Yeah.
So that makes up for
6'9".
some of the size. You might be losing at 6'9", like you're fine.
Right, and he's young. Technically he's been in college 2 years,
Right.
but he's fairly young. He can fit right in with what they need in the system. And Brooks, their staff, man, one of the best in the business as far as developing players. You saw what they did to the guys at OKC. A lot of people could say, well, they harder than them. Only sure thing at that time was KD. Russell Westbrook, he got drafted high, which most people didn't see coming. And, Harden, he same thing, and they developed. Even Jeff Green, people forget Jeff Green and those guys were there. Brooks and
Serge is right now.
Serge too.
Man.
So all those guys were there once upon a time, and they developed. And Scott Brooks was there when they got drafted. So, that's why I'm comfortable. This is his first draft. I'm comfortable that he's gonna get some pieces in there, and they just gotta build. I love what he brings to the table, man. He's projected to be around that time, from mid first to early second round.
Right.
So. I know he got invited to the combine, so if he go to work there, he might move up. So, just gotta watch.
Him and Troy got invited to the combine. So both of
Yeah.
the guys that we brought up today got those nice shiny combine invites. So that might be something fun if you're a Wizards fan. Just keep an eye if you're checking out the combine. Keep an eye on Amari Spellman and Troy Brown. So we're gonna that concludes our first segment of tonight. So we're gonna take a quick break when we get back. Gonna got a quick little DC United update, and then Washington Mystics. The WNBA season officially begins quite soon. Training camp started today's Tuesday, so it started yesterday. So we're gonna take a look at what the Mystics did last season, what they have ahead for them this year, some of the challenges they may face, and how this roster is going to be constructed. You're watching The Focus, and we will be right back. Welcome back to the Focus TV. All right, so this is the beginning of the second segment. We got a quick DC United update for you guys. So over the weekend, DC United, they traveled to Philadelphia, one of their shorter trips. And the next week's, they're going to be, they got a lot of mileage that they're about to rack up in the air very shortly. But they went to Philadelphia, and they fell to the Union 3-2. Zoltan Steiber opened his scoring account for the year. He got his first goal of the season, and that gave DC United an early 1-0 lead. Steiber got his goal about the 7th minute. And then Philly rallied. They scored back-to-back goals, one from Ilsinho and the second coming from CJ Sapong. And that gave them a 2-1 lead. Darren Maddox, who he has been quite the strike. He's not the ideal striker, the guy that everybody wants up top, but he's been productive this year. Nonetheless, he gets another goal, and that tied things at 2 apiece. This was in the 70th minute. Things were kind of looking up. And then DC United surrendered what turned out to be the game winner to Boric Dokal 2 minutes later. So things didn't end as they wanted. They're back in DC already, training this week before they travel next weekend to take on Real Salt Lake on May 12th. So as we said before we ended before we got to the last break, can't keep my thoughts, I'm so excited. WNBA season's pretty much here. So last season, the Washington Mystics, their record last year, they finished 6th in the league with an 18-16 record. Well, 6th in the East, I apologize. With an 18-16 record, the injury bug played a huge role in their season last year. And people talk about in sports all the time how luck is a big factor, especially as it pertains to health. This team was definitely robbed of what it could have been because of injuries, and this has been kind of a theme for the past couple of years. But they did make the playoffs, and once they got there, they did do a little damage. They beat the Dallas Wings in the first round, 86-76. They took on the New York Liberty, who they typically have tough battles with, and they beat them 82-68. Big game from Christy Tolliver in that one. Then they lost in the semis, and that's where, it gets into the series portion of the WNBA playoffs. And they fell to the Minnesota Lynx 3-0. That's the first year of Elena Deladon being here in DC. I don't know how some would call it, but I wouldn't call last season a failure in the least bit, especially considering the injuries. You lost to the eventual champs. But now you look forward to this year, and it's about where they can go from here, because now you want to build.
All right.
So we're going to have the training camp roster. You guys should be looking at it very soon. As you can see, there's a lot of rookies on this roster. The 7th overall pick this year. This is Washington's first round pick. Miss Ariel Atkins figures to play a big role. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing how preseason goes. 5'11", 160. We talked about her a couple of episodes ago. As you're looking at this roster, the biggest thing I would ask you to look for is the front court players. Because one of the things that they're missing this year, they're missing Emma Mieseman. A couple years ago, she was a WNBA All-Star in the East. She will be out this year fulfilling international obligations. She is still a member of the Washington Mystics, so don't worry, she will be back next season. That being said, there's quite a hole that Washington has to fill. That's one of the reasons they went out and acquired veteran and DC native Monique Curry to kind of help. This is still a pretty young team to kind of help them grow and get to where they want to go. One of the players that I want to bring up that I'm happy that has returned. Cardell, we were wondering where she was the past couple years. Latoya Sanders,
Yeah.
she played a big role. I want to say two seasons ago, coming off the bench, and she was that perfect type of big where she gave you the flexibility. She could guard multiple positions. She scored enough to help with the spacing offensively, and it really gave them a lift. And they missed her last year, especially when they dealt with some of the injuries. All right, so one of the big things we're going to be looking at is Taylor Hill's recovery and their impending return. This is the big piece to the Washington Mystics puzzle. And obviously, we can look at Ariel Atkins, and that it's not too hard to maybe think that played a role in why she got selected, because you don't want to rush Taylor back. This is also the second year of EDD in Thibault's system. One of the things he talked about a lot last year was her improving defensively. It's something we want to continue to see this year as well, because teams try to exploit her on that end because of what she does on the offensive end. You want to attack great offensive players on the defensive end of the floor. And then we're going to talk about just the development. We talked about Scott Brooks' staff. We're going to talk about Thibault's staff. This development of Cloud, Tara Ruffin-Pratt, who's improved each and every year she's been in the league, and Victoria Walker-Kimbrough, last year's first-round pick. So, Cardell, looking at this roster, just your initial thoughts, man.
I mean, I like the versatility. Thibault's big on versatility. I like what I see so far with the prospects. The things I'm looking for obviously is help inside defensively. Who going similar to the Wizards, who gonna be rim protector, because a lot of teams punish the Mystics inside. They challenge Deladon and Mieseman, who weren't the most aggressive of defenders, inside trying to block shots and stuff like that. They challenged them, and nobody was there to kind of really help that. They missed, when they had Latoya and Kia Vaughn and all that before they left. So we're going to see who can fill that role. And who's gonna step up at point guard? I know Christy Tolliver's a great scorer, but playmaker. You know, who's gonna replace Ivory Laddle for what she brought the last few years? A lot of people just, you know, they didn't really give her the credit that she did. You know, she brought the Mystics back to relevance, honestly, with her leading the way she took over games and put the team on her back and won. And, you know, the injuries just caught up to her. You know, we knew last year it was more than likely her last year because she just couldn't get on the floor anymore. So, you know, I just want to throw a shout out to her because she was big for them the last few years. So, you know, you got to give respect where it's due. But who's going to fulfill that role when the games get tough? You know, from the guard spot, you know, we going to see. How much does Taylor Hill recover from her ACL injury? You know, is she back? Is she better? You know what I mean? So how much rhythm she's in and stuff like that, we got to wait and see for that. And obviously, you know, one player who I think got a chance to be one of the best two-way players in the league, TRP. You know, she improved drastically. She brought a post game, brought a mid-range pull-up last year. You know, so she's working. I don't know. She might bring, you know, what's next, a three-pointer? Then, you know, we know she's the best defender on the team. Yeah. She literally guards the 1 through the 5, but she don't get enough props for when it's all the WNBA defensive teams and announcing defensive players. She don't get the respect she deserves. But, you know, she's one of the best defenders in the league. So now that her offense, you got to respect it. I'm just excited to see what she gonna bring. So, you know, it's just a, you know, kind of a wait and see game. But if they all stay healthy and bring what they can to the table, you know, it should be a fun season.
Yeah, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. First off, and then looking at some of the forwards, you got another veteran, Devereaux Peters. I like that addition, and I just want to see who's going to make this team and how this roster is going to be shaped, because you got to have a lot of players that can play several positions. Right. Also think this is a big year for Natasha Cloud. You know, is going into year 4 right now. Yeah. We know you can make plays for others, and games where she's been aggressive, it's given the Mystics an added bonus. Right. Because, you know, we talk about, and not to compare to Saddle, but we're talking about Saddle, how defenses treat him in the respect that, you know, they're looking to pass.
Yeah, they treat her the same way.
You know, when
she got hit that jumper, man.
Exactly.
That's the only thing. She hit the jump as a wrap because she defends, she does everything else. But, you know, they just leave her because they're not believers that she going to hit the shot. And, you know, she got it. When she hit that, they're a completely different team. So she has everything else. Playmaking, she tough. She know how to play. You know, size, she has everything else. It's just that. Yep, and then the other one, I think everyone knows really high on Shatori Walker-Kimbrough. Right. Going into year 2, one of the things at Maryland, she consistently improved each and every year. Right. You know, we talk about TRP and the type of work that she puts in. Listen to Brenda Freeze over the past couple of years. Shatori's one of those. She's a similar type worker. So looking forward to see what she comes back with. See if she has. You know, WNBA is a little bit different because there's limited roster spots. All rookies don't get the same chance. You know that their male counterparts are afforded in the NBA, where you got 82 games, you picked high, you got a lot of time to get acclimated to the league. It's a shorter season. Again, less roster spots. Your rookie growth sometimes takes place overseas. So anxious to see how she comes back and see if she can kind of fit that vision that Sapo had when they drafted her. Because another player could be a good two-way player. She was definitely a good defensive player at Maryland. But, you know, just getting stronger, being able to being assertive and being able to hit that outside shot opens things up. And also you got throwing in, she came to a playoff team.
Yeah.
A lot of first-round picks go to bad teams, so they thrown into the fire immediately. That's how they get the experience. She came to a playoff team where literally there her spot was, you know, Taylor Hill, who's having an all-star season before she got hurt. Then on top of that, you know, you know what I mean, at the time you had, you know, Chrissy Tolliver, she had some horses in front of her. She wasn't, you know, it is what it is, but that's what happens when you go to a playoff team. They're one of the better teams, so that's why she didn't get a lot of experience. But, you know, with her improvement, I know they got to count on her now, so she'll have her opportunity.
All right, so we're definitely looking forward to it. And don't forget, you know, we cover the Wizards, we cover the Mystics. Just equally expect the same type of quality coverage. You know, media days tomorrow, so we're going to try to get that stuff up. So again, get over to finestmag.com, go to My Model Sports. We'll have that stuff in the coming days. That being said, we're about to take our second break of the show, but before we go, this is the break in which we have the 9-4-50 breakdown. So this week, Jamal is going to be demonstrating the James Harden sink move. Again, the James Harden sink move by Jamal Haywood. And no, it's not a travel. Before y'all ask, thank you, Cardell. By 9-4-50. And we'll see you guys on the other side of the break watching the Focus TV.
We're going to break James Harden's sink move, which is also the drop no move. So you have a defender on your hip. When I'm going to the basket, I'm going right. So I take one dribble, I take the second dribble, I sit, down, go, layup, okay? And I attack. Get more prone, reach towards my waist. Keep dropping the ball low, they cannot get it, and I finish. So now I'm gonna go full speed.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back to the focus. Man, so again, shout out to Jamal Haywood, and thank you very much, 9450, for these awesome breakdowns. Definitely enjoying some teachable moments. Can never hurt. And y'all see, it was not a travel, as Cardell said before the break. All right, so kind of something, something's kind of a big deal as far as, football goes. NFL draft was this past week. We've had some folks on in the past to come on and talk. Shout out to Coach Ray. Had Justin Walters call in before as well. So it already happened, man. A lot of people overreact to things, get crazy. All right, so the hard part is now over. The draft is finished. So we're going to take a look at both the local teams. All right, so I guess we can start. Where y'all want to start with? Baltimore or Washington? I'm going to let y'all choose.
We can do Baltimore.
You want to do Baltimore?
B-Mo.
All right, so we're going to start with Baltimore first. Let me pull it up because I have the Carolina Panthers put up for some reason. Don't know why. All right, so Baltimore, man, had a big draft. Obviously, the first name that comes to mind, they took one, Lamar Jackson, at the end of the first round. But the first round, so we're going to go ahead and look at their draft haul. They had Hayden Hurst, tight end out of South Carolina. They took, with their first round pick, they traded back in to the bottom of the second round to take Lamar. They have Orlando Brown, pretty much say junior, Pops did play 80 games for the Ravens back in the day. In the third round, Mark Andrews. So that's the second of two. That's the second tight end they took in the draft. Anthony Aver, the cornerback out of Alabama, one of my guys that I liked quite a bit. Kenny Young from UCLA. Jaleel Scott, a wide receiver out of New Mexico State. Jordan Lasley, another wide receiver. We were talking, that episode earlier we talked about they need playmakers. They took Rashad Perryman a couple years ago. Hasn't really worked out. We talked about injuries and whatnot. The kid hasn't been on the field. They haven't got the production that they wanted out of a first-round talent. So that's one of the reasons. They got Deshaun Elliott, a very, very talented safety. In the sixth round, we got Greg Sinnott, a tackle out of Wagner. They doubled up on offensive line again with their second pick in the sixth round. Bradley Bozeman, a center out of Alabama, and defensive end in true Ravens fashion. And this was also the last pick that Ozzie made, because this was his last draft. Mr. Zach Seiler. We're going to keep an eye on how he does in his career, because you are the last pick made by one Mr. Ozzie Newsome. So with the Baltimore, with their draft haul, I'm going to ask you guys what you guys think about it.
I think it was a good draft for them. I feel like they, attacked the positions that they need help on, where they weren't getting in free agents. I think that they really did need a tight end, so I can see why they kind of maybe doubled up on the tight ends to see which one is going to play out better for them. But all in all, I usually like what Baltimore does. I feel like they have a good grasp on the type of players that they need and the type of players that work well in their system. I'm always interested to see how, I love watching Hard Knocks and stuff like that. And then there's a series on Amazon where they followed the Cowboys last year. So I like seeing stuff like that. So I'm always interested in to see how the dynamic of the players come together as far as them being on a team and, filling out the role and being who they're supposed to be. So I'm really interested to see how that works out for them. I still think they probably need some work as far as other positions, but I was a little bit surprised that they didn't. You said they didn't pick up a quarterback, right?
Nah, they took Lamar in there.
Oh, I'm sorry, duh. And Cardell made a face when you said that, but so I'm interested to see how he feels about that.
Man. All right, Cardell, your thoughts on Baltimore taking one of the
We
players
need
you
to get
quite
first.
wanted?
I mean, I'm just happy he won the first round like he
Yeah.
should. He should have went higher. You know, that was smart. Basically trading up, giving up a second round pick for that for him. He's the quarterback of the future. You know, they kind of got, Flacco. This is kind of his, last wave, I guess, as a starter. As a prime starter, where he could, be strong. I know they got RG3 there, but.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, with his injury history, who knows, you know what I'm saying? But it's a chance for him to learn and not have to worry about being thrown to the fires real quick. And the development, I think once he gets experience, is a wrap, So I'm just mad he in the AFC. We probably have to deal with him. So it's going to be problems. But I really, love the tight end picks because that's what Flacco has been missing. Somebody to go down the middle of the field and, catch the ball in between. They got guys on the edge, like Mike Wallace last year. You had Benjamin Watson, all those guys on the outside, but you need somebody within, to keep, linebackers at bay, draw the safeties, and, Hurst, definitely could do that as well as Mark Andrews. So I think those were the key picks for them. So now Flacco, if they develop, I know they're going to be rookies, but, seeing Hurst in college, he definitely was shorthanded. Anything his way, he was catching it. So if he come in and bring that same ability, then it opens things up for Flacco and their offense to score. And, get back to kind of having a high-power offense.
Yeah, I mean, I like the draft just because it was a typical Raven draft, man. Like, what you literally saw was they took some defensive pieces that some people really high on, some people might not be too familiar with, but they're things that fit. And I would tell you right now, at least for me personally, I'm really high on Anthony Averett. He was one of the many Alabama cornerbacks that didn't get the love just because, and Minka deserves the respect that he has. He was a top class pick. There's a reason everybody talked about him such. It's hard when you watch Alabama. There's so many talented individuals that stand out. Sometimes it's hard to just focus on some of the guys on the, some of the other guys. And Anthony Averett was one of those other guys, but there's a reason that as an other guy, he went fourth. Nick Saban knows what he's doing with DBs. So just keep that in mind. Deshaun Elliott's another guy. Everyone's arguing about who's DBU, Texas or, a couple other schools, but it's another quality safety. You get a chance to learn behind guys like Eric Weddle. You got Tony Jefferson. This could be the guy that Tony Jefferson possibly grows old with in the secondary in terms of a partner back there. And then, you mentioned the tight ends, Cardell, and I love that you mentioned them. And looking at Orlando Brown, these are the guys that might, obviously we're looking at what they might be for Flacco. It's kind of the guys that's going to help Lamar. Lamar was one of the best quarterbacks in college football as far as throwing in between the hashes. And that's where most tight ends operate. It's going to be kind of like build a comfort level for the kid. So obviously he's going to help Flacco, but just looking long term as well. So the Ravens thought we had a pretty good draft, man. Definitely not going to knock them at all. So on to the Redskins, because I thought it was kind of funny because Redskin fans, some of y'all this weekend had me dying because some of y'all thought it was a bad draft, and I'm trying to figure out how.
It's the Redskins. Come on, man.
I just sometimes when you do good, you got to understand that you do good. So in the first round, they took Deron Payne out of Alabama. Darius Geis in the second round out of LSU. That's the guy that played behind Fournette, a couple years ago. And when Fournette went out, things didn't get easier. It still stunk. There's somebody else you were chasing. You got Jerron Christian, a tackle out of Louisville, one of the guys that protected Lamar. You got Troy Apke. A lot of people know him as just, got to call it what it is, the white guy who ran really fast at the combine. Because Deion was like, that guy can run. But the kid, it's a kid, it's a passing lead. The kid has really crazy range at safety. It's the type of thing where you can coach him up and see what you can get out of it. Tim Settle out of another quality player. You got Sean Dion Hamilton. All right, so we know who Reuben Foster is. We know who Rashawn Evans is. Sean Dion Hamilton was the guy on the other side. Again, like I said, when you watch Alabama defense, there's so many people to watch. It's really hard. This kid, had to deal with injury bug a little bit, but talent is not a question. That's high reward if the kid stays healthy. Crazy reward. So that was a really good pick. The Redskins lost Kendall Fuller. You go back to the Virginia Tech cornerback well. They take Greg Stroman. And then they finish things up with Trey Quinn, a wide receiver out of SMU. So Octavia, I know you're Eagles fans. one of your division foes and whatnot. I didn't say rivals, Happy. I said foes. Your initial thoughts on their draft, man. Take the Eagles hat off and look at it.
I think it was okay. I think that they did focus on some positions that they feel like they need to, bulk up on. I definitely feel like, you said they took one wide receiver.
Yeah, they took one late.
I feel like that in my opinion, I feel like that maybe, if they feel like they're going to get more, in the free agency or whatever they decide to do, I think that's a big area of improvement for them. A lot of, with Terrell Pryor leaving and, he was supposed to be, the next big thing for them after Deshaun left. So I'm still waiting to see, are they going to have somebody that just pops out of nowhere that's going to be their next go-to guy? Because in my head right now, I don't know who their number one is. But I like the running back pickup because I feel like their running backs are always good, but I think their biggest issue, at least last year, was injuries. It was like game after game, running back went down and they were down. Like, what are we going to do now? So I think all in all, it was a good draft. I just think always with the Redskins, the biggest thing is just how it works out. Not so much chemistry, but as far as, like you talk about, people playing their position and doing their role and see how it works out. So, the Eagle side of me hoping nothing works out, but it should be an interesting season.
All right, Cardell.
I think they focus on, two glaring needs. They couldn't stop the run and they couldn't run. I think they were, they were last in the league in, run defense, and they were 27th in running offense. So that's why you saw a lot of picks, they kind of geared more towards the defense. Defensive tackle, they trying to stop the run. And then they got guys, so they can get some yards. So I think it was smart. They went after, they went after a need, man. Try to fulfill those needs. Obviously Alex Smith, they got a quarterback and all that. They trying to see, they think he's, I guess, an upgrade over Kirk Cousins. We shall see, But, that's basically what it is because, teams, even when Kirk Cousins put up points, they can blame it on him with turnovers. They couldn't stop anybody. And with that up and down, you're going to finish. You can be mediocre or terrible. There's no ifs, ands about it, man. It is what it is. So as long as they, these guys pan out, they should be fine. Now, if they don't, more than likely somebody getting fired.
Yeah, like for me, it was just kind of really weird. I thought there was like a really smart draft, which I'm not used to coming from them. I'm not trying to be mean, man. I'm just calling it what it is. Nah, man, because like I know a lot of Redskins fans were in love with Derwin. A lot of people were in love with Octavia. Really in love. And I was kind of maintaining the whole time the right pick for them was Deron Payne. I've been steadfast on that and I haven't moved. And trust me, when they picked him, I was like, seriously?
They listened to me?
Not that they listened to me, but like it made sense. You can't, like you say, they can't stop a run. Go get one of the country's best run stuffers. A lot of people are like, oh, that's not a big sample size. It's because Alabama has 55 people to play. Okay, that's not an indictment on the kid's talent. If anything, you need to thank Nick Saban that this kid's coming to you oh so fresh. So many Alabama players come to you with like league years, like miles on them, right? This kid he didn't finally get his lion's share of snaps until they got to the playoffs, which means the whole regular season, man, you alternate and, they wanted to keep everybody fresh. This is also somebody who has some familiarity playing with one of last year's top picks, Jonathan Allen. So you put these guys together, they already know how each other plays. That's a beautiful thing in the beginning of the line, in the middle of your line. And because they're Alabama kids, they're fundamentally sound, man. They teach the hand game very well. That's why he's so disruptive. And to take a page out of the Eagles' books, there's a lot of most successful teams in the NFL right now. They win by getting pressure up front. I know everybody falls in love with edge rushers, and they're wonderful, don't get me wrong. But some of the best teams in the past couple of years are the ones with those special, freaky interior guys that just ruin everything. Where your center can't block them, then you got to put a guard over. And now those special guys on the edge are getting one-on-one.
Right.
And everybody's having fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, they break you down from the inside. And I'm going to tell you right now, Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen next to each other, that's not going to be fun to deal with. You got to deal with Dallas's juiced up line. You got two kids who are going to cause trouble. So now the guys who play on the end, you get to eat a little bit more. Now, Kerry can be able to talk about him getting held and stuff like that. You're not going to see two people anymore, Ryan. You shouldn't. If y'all do this right. And Geis, you got a franchise back for like maybe the first time since like CP.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
like
wow.
literally like the first time you got franchise back talent. So I salute them on that. I like the Apke pick, and the rest of the thing is just depth, man. They saw holes, they fixed it. Some things that they addressed last year, they doubled back and went around and did it again, man. So now it's just about, you got a lot of talented people up front, getting them in the right position. And, you know, football's, good teams tell you all the time, they preach that as one in the trenches, as one up front. Redskins have a good offensive line. It's not a bad offensive line. They had a horrible defensive line, which is evident by the issue stopping the run last year. Now they got a chance this year to improve upon that, and that should make the rest of the defense that much more sound because they're being disruptive up front. So again, I think if you get, you know, general consensus here, we like both drafts from both local teams. All right, so Cardell, we got some time left here, man. What you got for us?
Here we go.
Start with the, you know, high school. Jalen Green, top player in the class of 2020, said he would pursue professional opportunities if the NBA changed the rule where they allow you to go directly out of high school. You know, he's a 6'5" guard who attends San Joaquin Memorial High School out of Cali, and he has offers from Villanova, Kansas, and Arizona, among others. Do you think it's too early for him to be talking about jumping the pros? Maybe he need to develop more, or what are your thoughts on that? Because he's already declaring.
Octavia?
I've started to get over this whole one and done rule. I will be completely honest. I was one of the people that actually liked the rule. I feel like, you know, to have them go to school 1 year is at least beneficial. You know, if they don't see it, that's fine. But I can see it now. You know, a lot of people are just ready to go. So I don't think it's a great idea for him to talk about it. You know, I feel like it's better to move in silence. Like, everybody doesn't need to know all your business. You know, if that's what you feel like, that's cool. But, you know, if they don't change the rules, you never know. Maybe some colleges feel like, well, I mean, do I really want to, you know, take him because he's going to leave? Or, you know, even though everybody's cool with the one and done rule, you know, in college as well. But I just think that, you know, maybe he should keep it to himself a little bit more. You know, it's nothing wrong with it if they do eventually change the rule. But I think they weren't even talking about it till 2020, maybe.
Yeah,
okay, and that's his year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he like it, I love it. I mean, if he wants to do it at this point, you know, because I've heard you guys in here say many times, and it's actually started to make more sense to me that, you know, you got to treat these kids as individuals and you got to treat them as adults. If they feel like that's what they want to do, you know, that's their lives to either make better or ruin, you know, and it puts more pressure, like you said, on the front office to make the right decisions and not, you know, try to scapegoat it on anybody else. So, I mean, if they change the rules and he goes, I look forward to seeing how it works out.
Yeah, I mean, if the possible rule change happens in the year that he graduates, it is what it is, man. Like, I'm gonna feel the same way I did, you know, prior. Like, you know, when Q Rich, those type of guys came out, there were other guys that didn't make it, but they had the opportunity to make a choice, and that I'm not gonna knock anybody for. They make the right choice or not, they deserve the opportunity to make their choice.
Yeah.
Everybody knows I'm an advocate for make that leap. The thing, because the NBA don't have no cut card, they gonna give you the information. They gonna tell you exactly where you stand. You still put your name in the hat, and you deal with what comes. Like you said, as a grown man leader, they're not gonna hold your hand. You gotta be ready, and that's kind of my caution with him, man. He's talking like, you know, hearing him talk in the interview is kind of like you think it's gonna be sweet. It's not that easy, man. That level is the top level for everything. It's elite for a reason. So if he's not mature in any way or he having doubts, go to college. But if he feel he's sure he ready to put that time in, that work, make the leap, man. You know, sky's the limit. Go ahead and do it. Next question. Pat Riley said regarding Hassan Whiteside performance in the playoffs or lack of performance. He said he wasn't ready physically or mentally for postseason play. He wasn't in great shape. He wasn't fully conditioned for a playoff battle mentally. He and we got our heads handed to us. Thoughts?
Cop out. I feel like it's a cop-out. If he wasn't ready, he wasn't mentally ready, he wasn't in shape, why was he on the floor? Why, like, I just feel like it's a cop-out. You know, at this point in the season, you know, y'all work so hard to get to the playoffs, he should be ready. Like, why are you not ready at this point? You know, I know the whole thing with him and Embiid going back and forth probably played a part in it. I think he's right, though. I think he wasn't mentally in it. I think he thought it was going to be easier than it was. But I think it's a cop-out, you know. I mean, to a certain extent, because he is still saying that, you know, they got their heads handed to them. But, you know, I don't want to hear the excuses. You know, you're a professional. This is your job. This is what you do every day. This is what you get paid to do. You need to be ready at all times, especially in the playoffs.
I mean, Miami's not one of those organizations that holds your hand. Everybody's expected to. They treat you as a grown person. This is why I felt, you know, I said this a couple times during the year. I felt like when they took Bam, this was one of the possible outcomes. And this was on Hassan to avoid this outcome. He didn't.
Man, you know me, man.
Hey, look,
Ain't got no cut cards.
I don't, because it's the pros. You getting paid millions to be ready, man. What up? I mean, what's your problem, though? You should be ready, like, not in shape. And they find you.
Bro,
they have a
preach it.
strict conditioning system, like nutrition and everything. If you're not ready to go, they find you, man. So the fact that they ain't feel comfortable putting them on the floor in a series, especially against Embiid, especially in a series where Embiid was sitting at the beginning where you could have possibly ate, that speaks volumes to you, and that's always been the issue with him. That's why he was at the beginning of his career, even though he wowed guys with his size and athleticism, they're like, we don't know about this kid, man. We don't know if he's tough enough. And it seemed like he was on the up and up the last couple of years. Now this, man, he's messing his own career up. Like, come on, dog. Pat Riley, like you said, Pat Riley ain't got no cut. I mean, he traded the greatest player in that franchise history for.
Look, man, he's not gonna be the first or last Heat player to be moved. All right, that's on you. But last question, Cardell.
Markieff Morris, when I asked about the series, they said, they asked him about the series, and his thoughts was the Wizards were the better team. They were better than the Raptors. What are your thoughts on that?
Octavia, go ahead.
Well, they weren't better because they didn't win. That's my initial thought. I mean, I feel like, what else are you supposed to say? But I feel like at this point, it's no talking.
Yeah.
It's no talking. It's what did you do on the court? What transpired to get you where you are currently, which is at home watching the playoffs with everybody else. So I don't want to hear that. I feel like they did have good games, but like we've all talked about all year, I feel like some of it came down to effort. Sometimes some of it came down to defensive inabilities. It was a multitude of things. Obviously, they weren't the better team. If they were the better team, they would have won. So, I mean, I feel like what else are they supposed to say at this point? But I don't want to hear any talking anymore. I want to see it because we talk about Toronto every year, for the same thing. Like Toronto is supposed to be the better team. They're the 1 seed the last I don't think they were last year, but they've been 1, 2, 3 the last however many years, and they can never get over that hump. So, I just don't agree, but I see why they would say it. What else are they supposed to say?
Cardell?
I'm with Octavia, man. They just need to be quiet. I mean, only people that honestly need to be talking truthfully is Wall, Bill, and to a certain extent Porter. I like the fact that he got out there hurt and still tried. I mean, he woke up that last game when they won Game 4 and hit some big shots. But man, as for everybody else, man, they gotta be quiet, man. You know what I'm saying? Because you had the chance to show it, to prove it. That's the problem. There's too much talking going on nowadays, man. There's not enough results being shown. And he really, Markieff, really disappoints me the most because he actually has 20 and 10 talent. People look at me crazy when I say that, but if he was locked in and focused all the time, not getting into the petty stuff on the court, just really in kill mode, I mean, he could score from all 3 levels, post up. The game they lost, he had 15 rebounds in that game. Like, he could do it all, man. That's what I'm saying. He should be one of those players that sneak into an All-Star game here and there a couple times during his career. To me, he's underachieving. He was the X factor, and he didn't perform. So to say you the better team, especially when you losing 7 games, man, that's just ego and pride, man. All you could do in the interview is just take your hat off to him, like, man, respect to the Raptors, and we gonna improve and try to get them next year. Simple as that, man.
Y'all said it all, man. Look, I'm sick and tired of talking. I just want to see how the roster changes over this offseason and going to next year, and the theme needs to be less talking, more doing. This was The Focus. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you get over to finestbag.com, sports.com. We'll see you guys next week.